Welcome to the last video. We would like to ask you several questions. The first of all is, how many people in the world have some access to electricity? A. Less than 20%. B. Around 50%. C. More than 80%. The correct answer is C. More than 80%. The world is much more developed than most people realize. It happened during the past 50 years. Now, 90% of people have access to electricity. A world where 100% of people have electricity is no longer beyond imagination.
The second question is, compared to 1980, the cost of energy from solar panels today is roughly A. 1% of the 1980 cost, B. 21% of the 1980 cost, C. 31% of the 1980 cost. The correct answer is 1% of the 1980 cost. The answer A. Even though there has been a huge drop in the price, solar energy still only makes up roughly 1% of the world's energy use. Perhaps, if more people realized how cheap they have become, they could plan to change some of their energy use to this clean source.
During the past 40 years, the amount of oil and natural gas remaining in known reserves, answer A, reduced to less than half. Answer B, remain more or less the same. Answer C, more than doubled. The correct answer is letter C, more than doubled. You may have thought we will need to switch to renewable energy sources when fossil fuel reserves run low. History has shown us, though, that as technology has improved, more oil and gas reserves have been found and pumped out of the ground. To prevent the absolute worst effects of climate change, oil and gas reserves must stay in the ground. They will never run out, just become more expensive to extract, and if we continue to burn them as we have been, scientists predict catastrophic climate change. As oil and gas becomes harder to get to and renewable sources become more commonly used, it will make more financial sense to leave fossil fuels in the ground to switch to cleaner, renewable sources instead. We just need to do it more quickly.
What's happened to the total amount of raw materials used across the world annually since 2000? A. Stayed about the same. B. Increased about 35%. C. Increased about 70%. The correct answer is C. The richest countries' materials use has remained stable over the past 20 years, around 25 metric tons per person, which is roughly 13 times more than in low-income countries. The reason the global number increased is that billions of people got richer over recent decades, and just like those who were already rich, they started to consume more materials. Therefore, the global material usage has increased very fast over the past 20 years. So the last question is, what happens to the CO2 level in the atmosphere if we halve the annual emissions today? Answer A, it decreases. B, it stays the same. C, it increases. The correct answer is C. It increases. The extremely slow natural removal of carbon dioxide is the reason why, even if we cut our emission in the half, the carbon in the atmosphere keeps increasing because almost nothing disappears. Most people don't think of the atmosphere as a bathtub with carbon, but they should. Instead, most people jump to the intuitive conclusion about how it works. They know that the global average temperature increased because carbon levels increased because our emissions increased. And based on that, it seems intuitive to think if our emission decrease, the carbon concentration will decrease. But people wouldn't make that mistake if they saw it as a bathtub. When a bathtub is spilling over, people realize they must turn off the water to stop the overflow. They realize that the water level doesn't go down by just reducing the inflow. If too little water is exiting, the inflow must be turned off completely to stop the overflow.